I'm done listening to people. Hearing so many perspectives of how everyone's an expert on everything. I'm like, I am the fucking expert, dude. Like I'm now in my time where this is my fucking time. I don't need to hear any more about how anybody else is doing anything else. Welcome to Loudr, the podcast that amplifies your voice. I'm Sean P., your host, and here we believe in giving everyone a platform to get louder. Whether it's your professional journey or personal stories, we encourage our guests to speak up on topics they couldn't voice before. Join us as we make waves, elevate conversations, and empower you to be heard. Let's get louder together. All right, guys, welcome. I actually have one of the most prolific and I would say, in my mind, the best broker in Las Vegas. Not because of business, but just in terms of who he is as a dude, how he runs his business, the circle around him, and really honored to have him on today. Josh Galindo of Galindo Real Estate, welcome. Everybody knows who you are, but remind us, man. Tell us what's going on.
Thanks for having me, Sean. It is a real blessing to be here. I will accept what you said. It's funny because I often give compliments and then I immediately get a compliment back. And it's like, no, that wasn't why I complimented you to get one back. So just own the compliment and let it marinate. Yeah, if you want to give me a compliment, then wait 10 minutes or find another opportunity. So I'll receive that and say, thank you very much. Who am I? I think I'm on this new journey at the moment of trying to evolve my personal brand from just this human being that's able to generate a quality life and income for himself and his family to really who I am as a person and how much I genuinely value my family and great humans around me. That's a little bit more of what I want to expose the world to, so that they could see me beyond what my first phase of building my personal brand was. Yeah. So to start with that, obviously I'm a broker at Galindo Group Real Estate. I'm a landlord. I am a house flipper as my primary source of real estate duties. But most importantly, I think it's genuine too, because I think my life is turning into this space where I'm watching my kids get like to a point where they're so old that they're developing this personality beyond me. You know what I'm saying? When they're young, it's like all about dad. But like now I'm watching my 10-year-old it's like a nucleus or a cell creating another cell. Like he's kind of leaving me. Yeah. And so it's kind of like sobered me up. But so most importantly, I'm a father of 4. I'm a husband. I'm madly in love with my wife. I love my kids are 10, 8, 6, and 4, and they're all soccer nuts. And
Soccer Saturdays, or was it Soccer Sunday?
Soccer Saturdays and Sundays.
Soccer weekends.
Yeah, bro. I got a tournament this weekend for just one kid, and there's 4 games. So we will live on the field this weekend. Yeah. And it's such an incredible experience. Like it's almost like golfing. You know what I'm saying? I think a big part of golfing for people is getting to hang out with good people out in nature, right? And you get a little exercise. And then if you're really into the game, that's probably a whole different reason why you like golf. But for me, I love being out in these beautiful nature spaces with quality people. And that's what Soccer Saturday is. You're out under the sun. You've got good parents that are on the same journey that you're on. You're getting to watch your children compete and perform. I don't know. I love every second of it. And I know that when they turn 18, 19, 20, or whatever it is, that my wife and I will be sitting on the couch in our house on Saturday and going, what do we do? What do we do? And I miss the shit out of Soccer Saturdays.
Totally, man.
So that's who I am. Yeah. That's who I am. And you'll learn more as we continue to talk.
Yeah. So do you think so as a parent for myself, like what I've found is, and what I like is, so my boys play football. Mm-hmm. And so
great sport.
Yes.
A lot of discipline.
I guess it's a different type of football.
Sure.
Same thing, right? So, yeah. But you're meeting this whole other group of people who don't know who you are during the week. Like, let's be real, bro.
Agreed.
Like your brand is everywhere. you're everywhere. You've done an amazing job of putting yourself everywhere, right? You've exposed yourself and your family to the max, right?
Sure.
And from what I hear, like that's where you're kind of in a space now where you're like, I've done that part.
Yep.
I'm out there.
Yeah.
And now, you're trying to really continue to create some meaning behind that and what that's going to mean if you weren't running the ship. Like now you want to kind of be able to have it organic, continue to live on.
Absolutely. Those are my goals. Yeah.
So when you're on the field on the weekend and you're meeting these parents, they may know who you are because you've branded yourself, but you don't have to put on the dog and pony show of who you are all the time and, kind of live who you are all the time. Not that you're faking it, but dude, you have to be Josh Galindo when you step in these doors because there's a lot of people counting on you to be that person.
Absolutely.
You have to be Josh Galindo when you go just to the freaking Knights game and you have your hat on and the camera hits you and you gotta be, you've gotta be on, you've gotta be on. And for me, I'm not exposed that much, but when I hit the field and I'm meeting these parents who have no idea who I am, it's kind of relaxing, dude, because like you're just meeting another person and you get to kind of connect with people for just for your kids, for the experience, for the love that you're both feeling for whoever's out there on the field.
Totally. I 100% agree with that. There's a few things I'll touch on there. It's not fake, as you said. It's energy. You know what I'm saying? And that is what I believe the universe rewards, is it rewards energy. If you walk into a space and you sit in the corner and you don't talk to anybody, the universe will give you exactly that. Nobody will talk to you. Nobody will interact with you. You haven't created a presence. So it's energy. Energy creates more energy.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when I am on, it's about bringing the best version of me forward. And it's a very conscious effort. I actually was confronted by somebody at the Knights game that asked, like, hey, is everything that you do like intentional? Like, is it strategic? Is it planned out? And I'm like, yeah, it is. When I go to an event,
I love that you own that, bro. I love that you own that because most people don't, and it's bothersome, dude. It's like, I know you're lying, and I love that you own that because you have the best intentions. Like you're doing it intentionally as yourself. You're real, but you're being real. Like, yes, I'm intentionally doing this to show people who I am, what I'm about.
Well, all of the alternative is everybody's got this incredible, powerful energy to themselves and this great story, and they're all of value. Every human being is a value in some way or shape or form, if you think about it, like, but the layers of insecurity encapsulate that beautiful part of human beings. Yeah. And so for me, you don't think I have that little voice in my brain saying, Josh, you may look a certain way, or you might be embarrassed. You may stumble over yourself, whatever. There's
your
always
shirt's
that.
Too small.
Yeah, your shirt's too small. You had too much sodium last night and your belly's too big, whatever it is. I process those things, but I say to myself, I am proud of the little engine that I call myself inside, and I'm going to go and show the room it. Yeah. And I have to overcome those things. But a lot of people, they succumb to their insecurities and their mind chatter, and they're like, oh no, if I do that, then this could be the consequence. If I do that, this could be the consequence. And so they revert to this extremely safe space of doing nothing. And so it's not an on it is an on, but it's, what is that on, and defining it? It is that I'm not going to let any mind chatter deter me from showing the world the best version of who I am.
I love that.
It's totally genuine. And what I love about these, is why I think you and I connect so well, is these are such fulfilling conversations for me. This is actually the space I would always love to stay in. Yeah. Where we're just teaching, and the best students or teachers, I think they say, or whatever the saying is, when you're teaching it, you're getting better yourself. Yeah. Like I don't often articulate these thoughts out loud, let alone in my brain. But when you pull it out of me, I'm like, oh man, I heard myself say what I just said, and it totally is making sense. That is how I operate. I don't believe in all the other bullshit, like the the alter ego or the different version. I guess what it is too much to remember. It's too much to duplicate. So if I just am who I am organically. There's a misunderstanding of what real is. And I actually learned this in Mexico, in that lockdown facility place that I was at. And one of the ways to be perceived as real was extreme honesty. Mm-hmm. So kids would tap into being real and honest at any opportunity they could because it was rewarded in the program. But obviously authentic, real, and honesty was not this artificial version. They would manifest, they would create this artificial version where the honesty was almost rude. Mm-hmm. And then in their mind, they're like, okay, I'm being honest, but really you're being rude. And people will often be rude to prove that they're honest. Oh, I'm the person that says whatever's on my mind. Well, it's like, that's not how society works. And to me, that's not actually being genuine or honest. To me, that's like, are you trying to prove to me that you're this raw, tough, real person, and you're using this tool of extreme, rudeness almost to prove it? Like, you could come across real and authentic without, if somebody walked in right now and I didn't care for their shoes, I'd say nothing.
Right.
If somebody walked in right now and I loved their shoes, I'd go, dude, those fucking shoes are awesome.
Yeah.
That was authentic in two ways. I just didn't want to hurt another human being.
Yeah.
So why inject my opinion on someone if it's going to be hurtful?
Yeah.
But I'm also the first to inject my opinion on someone if it's going to be beneficial. Right. And that is a rule I've lived by my whole life. If I love what you got going on, if I love your energy, if I love your outfit, if I'll be the first to fucking tell you, and it is as genuine and honest as possible, not possible, as it gets. But on the flip side, if I don't like who you are, if I don't think, your outfit's great, or I don't like what you said, I just won't say anything.
I think I've learned, to piggyback on what you're saying, as I've got older, I've learned more about that as I've been hurt, as I've gone through like really difficult life scenarios that have humbled me. It's built a lot of empathy, in my heart. It's opened up a lot of love in my heart, where as before, like, I didn't really feel that. So like, kind of to make sense of that is if, like you mentioned, somebody walked in and you liked their shoes, like, you genuinely you like their shoes, and like, and people could feel,
absolutely,
they could feel that. Whereas before, I would think to myself, man, those shoes are dope. I should tell them that I like their shoes. And it comes off different, and there were a lot of aspects in my life where, I would try to be nice and I would try to say the right thing because I was trying to be nice and I was trying to say the right thing. Whereas now, going back to even what you're talking about, you expressing yourself, is, there's that saying, you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take, right? And so, some people may even in that situation be like, I don't want to come off like corny or like, I don't want to tell him that is, but his shoes are really nice, There's so much love and empathy and just care in our hearts that, like, I genuinely, I want to tell somebody, like, dude, I really like your shoes because I really like them, and it probably makes them feel really nice,
right?
And the feeling of making other people feel good, it feels good, man. I like that. I almost live off that, really, quite honestly. Like, going throughout my day, I make it intentional to keep my head up. I make it intentional to make direct eye contact with people, even if I'm walking through AM PM. I make it intentional when the kid that's 16 at Starbucks hands me my drink and he says, I hope you have a great day. I make it intentional to look back at him and go, you know what? I hope you have a great day too. It was around the holidays where I did that. And this boy, he's a young kid, like, literally I took him back, dude. And he was like, thank you for saying that. And I left there and I was like, fuck yeah, man. Here we are in December. I've done that probably 1,000 times. I don't know how many people I've impacted because I've been intentional like that. But I know this one person at the end of the year, like, I impacted one person. I went home, I literally was like glowing, and I told my wife about it.
Sure.
So being intentional, like literally being intentional, is so important, man. And I appreciate that about you.
I think what you may be saying there too is I say that humans often communicate with energy more than what they say. Mm-hmm. And, if you really break down maybe the logic, not to reword your story, I'll bet half his customers replied with, "You too, take care."
Yeah.
But it had no energy or no intentional.
Yeah, they're
no
putting their drink in their cup holder.
Right.
Yeah, bye.
No intention though. No pure. When yours came across because you said, "No, I actually care that I hope this kid actually has a good day." And when you delivered it with energy backing it, that's why he was like, "Wow, I actually felt that."
Yeah.
And I think that was probably the difference. And I think that's a lot of. But the same thing with him. He could have said, "You know what," or he could have just left. But he was like, he felt that. And if he would have been insecure, and then would have questioned what he was saying, he may not have ever responded to you and never gave you that message back that made you feel like you actually touched him, because he would have been like, well, this guy's too busy. He doesn't care. Or, this guy's got to get out of here. All of his mind chatter will come in and hinder that better version of himself.
And you know what? That one kid out of everybody that's there, if I had to, I don't even remember what he looks like, honestly. But if I had to go back there, if I remembered who he was and you lined up every single employee and fast forward 10 years, I'd probably be like, that kid right there is going to be the one who actually ends up owning one of these franchises or steps up and elevates in life.
Totally.
Right there, that kid right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're spot on. Yeah. That's emotional intelligence.
You mentioned your kids are reading a book?
Yeah, so I got this box of books that like they slide in all perfect, and it talks about like leadership, emotional intelligence, and three other things that I couldn't recite because I'm only on those two books. And it is very deep. It was written by a Harvard professor, so the verbiage is really in depth and deep, and the vocabulary is probably more intense than what they're used to hearing. But to me, I'm like, when I read it to them, one, I'm receiving the information. Two, I'm killing two birds with one stone. I'm receiving the information, and at the very least, I'm exposing them to these types of words. And if they listen to it in general, they still grasp the message. But yeah, the emotional intelligence one is, I think what they found that you can have an extremely high IQ. You can have all of these different metrics that you are off the charts on as far as intelligence.
Right.
But they found, after interviewing hundreds of CEOs and executives and business owners, that emotional intelligence is the biggest driver to success.
Trumps them all.
Trumps them all.
Yep. I've actually read that as well.
Really?
Yeah, I started diving in really deep on emotional intelligence and trying to really understand that. And that's, dude, it's everything.
It is.
It's everything.
It is. It's how you interact with other people. You know, I always say, you know, if this was a good example that I used, and I actually learned it on myself because I was like really passionate about buying multifamily a few years ago. And at that point in time, I ended up buying the building and some other things. But at that point in time, I had the money to do it. I had the understanding of how to like scrub a deal, but I needed people to connect with to get me into the right spots to find this product. And I had never felt so debilitated because I had all of the resources that I needed except for the connections and the people. So when I looked back and observed what I was experiencing, I was like, man, it really shows how important emotional intelligence and the ability to connect with other people is.
Yeah.
And because I have the money, I have the understanding of how to underwrite a deal, and the missing component is people, and in that specific space. And it taught me, I was like, yeah. And so one of the examples I use is I'm like, I can give you $10 million. You can't spend it on anything else other than a cash flowing asset or some asset. And here's what you need to go. Here's the formula that you need to go and underwrite that deal, but you can't talk to anybody. You wouldn't even be able to spend the money.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
So it just shows how important people are to all the equations.
Yeah.
And so when you go into the understanding how important people are to every equation and every formula, then you have to tap into how important emotional intelligence is.
Yeah. So I feel like you've understood that though for your whole career. I mean,
I think it came to me naturally, to be totally, well, I don't know about naturally. I think it came to me naturally, and I think I honed it at a very early age. Mm-hmm. And I honed it in that school in Mexico.
Yeah. Can you touch on that a little bit. I think that's a pretty pivotal, important point in your time. And I want to say really quickly, when I was 16 years old, my mom did not similar to that, but she put me in this like group hospital, and I actually felt like I got smarter coming out of that emotionally, because it exposed me to people who actually really were kind of like just out there.
Sure.
And it was just more exposure. But anyhow, please shine on that.
Well, I think to your point, I've been around people that are, I hate to say spectrum because I go straight to autism, but people that are a lot extreme, really extreme, and they're borderline probably psycho or not programmed correctly in the brain by nature, not nurture. It expands our thinking.
Yeah.
So when you're around that, I totally saw that. I totally get what you're saying there. Like I've been around people that are crazy, and obviously I'm in control of how much crazy I want to let in. Mm-hmm. But it's almost like doing acid without doing acid, just being around people that aren't all there. You know what I'm saying? It expands our conscious thinking and our subconscious thinking. So in Mexico, I was a troubled teen growing up at 16. Mom didn't know dad. Dad left when I was 1. My sister was 3. Mom raised us alone her whole life. I had all kinds of worthy issues. Didn't feel worthy of love. Didn't feel worthy of acceptance or approval. All of the above. Had all kinds of insecurities because in the 6th grade I had hit a bullet with a hammer in a nutshell. It ricocheted, shot through my eyeball. So then I was behind. Yeah. So then I was behind in school. So then I felt stupid. And then I was insecure physically because your eyeballs is who you look at everybody with.
Yeah.
And then you're like, he's staring at it.
And you have super light eyes too.
Right.
So
yeah. So I can't hide that. The imperfection of the pupil couldn't be hidden behind.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I had all these swirling, and then, puberty and hormones and girls, and no dad to kind of say, hey, do this or do that. And my mom doing her absolute best and absolutely crushed it. With the hand of the card she was dealt. Anyway, so I get taken away to this school in Mexico, and I'm gonna kind of jump over and talk about what I took away from that. I was in this school for 16 months. It was a results-based program. You did not leave simply based on time. It wasn't like if you spend 2 years there, you get out. It wasn't a sentence. It was a results-based program. And to learn that at 16, what I always describe it as is it's like someone stripping you down to the nude, throwing you in front of a 100-foot glass wall, spraying the wall down with water and saying, climb over. Like, take that visual for a second. That is the challenge that I was given the day that I was dropped into that school. There is no tangible way out. If somebody said, Josh, pick up this pile of rocks and move it from point A to point B, and then from point B back to A, and you get to go home, I'd have done it till I didn't have skin on my fingers anymore. Yeah. I had to figure out how to reprogram my brain, how to live through integrity, how to communicate clearly, how to create results, how to be disciplined, how to be consistent, because consistency was huge there. You could do great for 3 weeks. If you fucked up once, you go all the way back to level 1. And to get to level 3 could take 4 months. To get to level 6 could take 6 months. To get to level 6, which are 6 total levels, took me 16 months. And at level 6, honestly, if all I would have done is slept in, left my water bottle, looked at a girl, even down to this simple thing, got caught masturbating, any of those things, I would have gone to level 1 again.
Wow.
That fast. And my whole program would have had to start over. So all of this level of discipline through the eyes of a 16-year-old and consistency is what allowed me to graduate and get out. But so some of the little things that took place in that school that I think have served me well is I wasn't able to talk without permission from levels 1 to 3. So that was 4 months of my life. I couldn't talk without permission. And it wasn't like, hey, can I talk to him? And they gave permission. It was like that was a rare opportunity. You had 1 or 2 hours a day to freely talk amongst your peers. Everything else was very structured. You can't talk. Long story short, and you can watch any of these prison documentaries. We were able to have full-blown conversations without saying a word. We could read each other's body language so well that you could navigate your whole day without talking.
Wow.
And so I think that taught me how to communicate with energy, because you can be like, hey, you know, I don't know, but there was an energy to exchange there, and how to be conscious of how to point that gun and shoot it. You know, like, okay, I need to get this guy's attention. I could sit over there and send energy, you know, and so that honed that skill for me. And then obviously once I got to level 4, I was able to talk again. And then I had to learn how to communicate clearly and all the above.
So do you
I'm
think
kind of
that's-
rambling here?
Do you think that that's served you well?
Absolutely.
In your marriage with a female? Because I mean, they speak a lot off of body language.
They do. They do. The understanding, I think, of how people operate through, you know, like insecurities, self-limiting beliefs, confidence issues. I learned all of those things, and I didn't learn them from the outside. I learned them because I had a lot of insecurities. I lacked confidence. I lacked self-esteem, and I had a lot of self-limiting beliefs, And I learned how to navigate them. And I think what that has shown me is that when my wife acts from a past experience rooted in pain, I know at that point I need to quickly elevate to a higher level mentally and kind of oversee the exchange of information and conversation, and understand that it's coming from past trauma.
Yeah.
And so that's where that served me with my wife and with other female relationships, because it's very easy to stay in the moment and have her freak out on you because you didn't respond to a text. That doesn't happen in my life anymore. Yeah. But, you know, just as a good example, she's freaking out because I didn't respond to a text, and she's screaming at me, and she's telling me I'm a fucking piece of shit, and you know, you were out cheating on me, or I'm making all of this up. This is not the reality of my marriage at all. I'm using it as an example. And for me, if I don't say to myself, all of that energy is coming from a space of previous past trauma, then I could get stuck in it. And then I respond. Yeah. That's the worst part. What do you mean I'm fucking cheating? And I take a lot of pride in not being, being faithful. So now I'm really triggered. Yeah. The nerve of you. You know, what the fuck? And then you're right in it. And now you guys are just ripping each other's heads off. Yeah. And who could cut lower and deeper and all that. So to me, I elevate. I go, honey, where's this really coming from? What's really happening? What are you really triggered about? And it could take a long time. Don't fool me. We've had long arguments, and I just keep navigating and navigating. And I've been triggered too. I'm totally human. I've popped off at my wife a lot. But that's how it served me, is having an understanding of what's probably really taking place and where is that. Something I often say is, hurt people. Yeah. And when you can understand that in the world, then the people out there that are hurting you or are trying to hurt you, it's all because they're hurt people. And you don't take it personal. And you just move on. And so I think a lot of the things I learned in Mexico have served me really well today.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible, man. Because I mean, who knows what really the statistic is? You may know, but same kids, same exposure to that program. You know, some people may have taken that as an opportunity, like, how do I manipulate myself out of this? You know, and then taking that quality, that what you've learned. I mean, now you're learning manipulation at a super high level if you're able to manipulate your way out of something like that, which, like you said, very difficult to do. I mean, you almost had to be intentional, genuine in like getting through it.
That's right.
You know,
because everybody did it. There was 150 kids. Yeah. And you were judged by your peers. So even if you convinced 149, yeah, you know what I'm saying? And that's why it couldn't be about convincing. It had to be about authenticity. Like, no, I see it. This is who he is. I get it. This is where he's changed. This is where he's improved. This is how he's performing. I see it. That's who he is authentically.
I wonder how many kids in that same exact program at that same time have come back into the world and used it for good, like you have, and have really bettered and had some great lives, and maybe some haven't.
There's stories out there, and some have not. They've gone the complete. The thing with being exposed to even this depth of emotional understanding is it's the red pill and the blue pill and the matrix. You know, a lot of the world can live in a very bliss space, and I have no judgment at all. Sometimes I wish I never took the red pill, and I don't even know which pill it was. Yeah. But I sometimes wish I wasn't this self-aware. But once you take that pill, once you start digging in this space, and you don't unlearn the shit that we've learned. You don't forget it. We don't get to go back to bliss. Yeah. You know, and live through, you know, sports and an employee handbook and a 9-to-5 gig.
A lot of what you're mentioning within your marriage of what you're talking about, I've actually had to learn through my marriage.
Everybody learns it. It's just when.
Yeah, no, for sure. And since my wife is Latina, so man, with all due respect, like the emotional intelligence, just from the upbringing, culturally, they're not as advanced. They don't have as much exposure to certain things that we do, you know? So my wife has done an amazing job into becoming very aware of her emotional intelligence and growing in that aspect. Because what you're talking about, like when we first got together, if I didn't reply or if there were certain things that were off, like her mind would just fly off, you know? Sure. And because of the way that they're brought up, like cheating and, you know, dishonesty is very, very dominant in their culture, you know? And here I am, this white dude, where I'm like, no, I seriously, I want to be faithful to you. Like I want to live my whole life being able to say, like, I was true to this one person. So I would get triggered and pissed off when she would be freaking out. Sure. So like the fact that you said it in that direction, I'm like, dude, I would get so pissed and be like, what the fuck, man? I've never done anything for you to question me. Right. You know, I've done all the opposite. And as we've grown to be more emotional intelligence and aware of the other person and like, hey, and asking that question, like, hey, what is this really about? It's kept those things down to a minimum. Sure. I should say.
And like you said, just
it still happens.
Absolutely.
Right? It still happens.
Yep.
But
and
to
it
keep
will
it to a minimum.
Ever.
Yeah, to keep it to a minimum, like I'll be okay with that. Yeah. You know? So I think it's important for people to really focus on their emotional intelligence. I'm starting my kids young as well. I have my boys, I bought these journals every night before they go to bed. There's these, it's like for young kids to be, and it asks them these very intentional questions, and they write in this journal. And both of them asked me, Dad, please don't read this. And I haven't.
Wow.
I haven't, and I want to so bad.
Yeah.
And even when I clean their room and I make their bed and I pick them up, you know, I'm so tempted to look at them, but I'm like, no, I don't want to lose that trust. You know, this is a safe space. This is what they've asked of me. Like eventually, like when they're, you know, 15, they're going to be like, dude, read this journal. Absolutely. When I was 9, you know,
you're going to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, but I think those are steps that a lot of people don't take for their kids because they're too caught up in the fact that they should be learning about, you know, whatever bullshit math is in public school and this and that. And I'm like, no, I want my boys to be able to understand what their subconscious is, how to think, you know, what this world really is about. That's so important for me, bro.
Totally.
So at the beginning of this conversation, you brought up where you're kind of, transition is the wrong word, but you're kind of moving into this different space, or how I don't know how you said it.
I would say adding to, expanding on,
adding to or expanding on. And my question to you with that is, are you adding to or expanding on because you have the things that you want? I mean, you have some cool shit. You've worked super fucking hard. All of it has come with hard work. None of this has been given to you. So when I ask this question, I come from that, right? So is it now that you've now obtained some of this cool shit and you're like, I'm not even really that fulfilled. I want to kind of go in this direction. It didn't do what I thought it would. All right, now I got it. Now I have it. And it didn't do what I thought it would do.
So I thankfully got to learn this before all of this stuff. I kind of have to answer that question. It's a great question. To answer the question simply, none of my stuff makes me happy. I learned this with Crystal and her cancer journey.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I was going there next.
Okay.
So please,
I won't elaborate
expand on
too
that.
extensively.
No, please do. I was going there next.
I learned this with her we would get done with chemo, have to go home, experience that whole thing, hydrate the shit out of her to start pushing all that chemo out of her body, blah, blah, blah. And the next day I'd go, we're going down to Crystal's, and I would buy her Louboutin shoes. Now, I don't have that. One, I'm disciplined beyond spending money recklessly like that. So this isn't a comfortable space for me. And two, I don't know I guess there's a judgment call to be made there. I don't know if I have that kind of discretionary income. But my point is this was an uncomfortable space for me. I don't want it to be perceived as I just ran down and bought $1,000 pair of shoes. But I knew, and I would tell her this isn't creating happiness, but it's a brief moment of joy and distraction that we can use to defer from what we're experiencing. And I would say it every time because she'd be excited. Of course she's excited. You know what I'm saying? And of course she knows that we have the resources, that it's not going to tip the boat over. So I think she could receive these gifts without any resistance or hesitation. But I would explain to her, I'm not trying to make you happy because this doesn't create happiness, but it's a brief moment of joy and it's a brief moment of distraction. Yeah. And we could both use that. I feel great. I feel incredibly powerful and strong being able to do this for you. So that's my win. And I hope that you can receive this gift as a reward for what you've gone through. And so I learned through that. I'm just uber conscious at all times of what I'm experiencing. If I walk into Starbucks and I was like, that was the greatest experience I've ever had in my life, I don't let it stop there. I go, why? And I break it down step by step. Well, I walked in, it smelled different. I walked in and I saw clean people inside. I walked in and the people greeted me with a genuine hello. They called my name when my coffee was ready. They asked 3 different questions that created a luxury experience around my coffee. Do you want a sleeve? Do you want a spill poker thing? Do you want, Yeah. And so I break it all down. And I do that with every experience I have. And then I take what I learned from reanalyzing my personal experience and I apply it to all my businesses. That's why when you walk in here, you're greeted with Heather. Heather's job is to ensure that people have an incredible experience when they're in the building. That's her job. And I always make sure that all of my other team members know when you're over here grinding out a material list or you're painting a wall or whatever their jobs are, and you see Heather kissing babies and flirting with Sean, you don't go in a very positive way. You don't go, what the fuck? Heather's over there. No. Heather's 100% engaged in doing her job right now. Her job is to make sure that every human being that walks in here has a pleasant experience.
It's funny you say that because every time I walk in, hi.
Yeah.
Every time.
That's right.
Every time.
Yeah. And cool. That's on purpose. But also you have to be conscious of, you have to pick the right person. Yeah. Heather, I learned that with Heather. Heather was my transaction coordinator in the beginning. But I saw that she just couldn't help but be this vibrant, amazing human being on the side as a byproduct of her being a transaction coordinator. And so I was like, I need to capitalize on that strength. And that's what we did. And so it's about identifying strengths in people and then capitalizing on it. But I'm going to go back to, I don't even know where I was with that. I'm sorry, Sean.
With your wife.
But then before that, I was the happiness stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So I bought all of this new round of shit to either enhance the quality of my life or to improve my business. I am crystal clear on what I'm trying to accomplish. I am trying to get to 100 rentals. And at the end of the day, trying to get to $100,000 a month and triple net income. When I say triple net income, that takes into account debt service, vacancies, tax returns, insurance, property taxes, repairs, all the bullshit. So I need a triple net $100,000 a month. So I'm very intentional with where I'm going. So I'm buying these appropriate tools to bring in eyeballs so that I can monetize the eyeballs, so that I can generate enough income so that I can buy more rental properties. That is the very clear and precise thing that I'm trying to accomplish with the stuff. It's not to make me happy. I could shut all this shit down, I'd be just as happy. But if I shut all this shit down, I lose my ability to produce income. If I lose my ability to produce income, I can't go buy more rentals. I'm a step further away from my $100,000 a month in net income. Mm-hmm. So, and that's without getting out of bed income. And so I knew that none of this stuff would bring me happiness, but there are some things that bring a tremendous amount, a tremendous shift in my quality of life.
Yeah.
The Sprinter van, I make jokes all the time. If the boat tips over, the Sprinter van becomes my daily. Like the Sprinter van has added so much quality of life to my life that is one thing that I would say that does bring happiness. And you know why it brings happiness? Is because it brings people into my life. Mm-hmm. The Lamborghini doesn't bring happiness. It brings eyeballs. I can fit one human being in that car. And you better really like them and be able to have good conversation because you're super close and you're super tight. You know what I'm saying? But the van, when I take it to the field, when I have 6 games over Saturday and Sunday and it's bone chilling cold outside or it's blistering hot, I invite the other parents over. Or if the other parents have kids that, you know, aren't playing and all my kids are in the van staying warm or cooling off, I say, go send your kids to the van. I always get a good parking spot because it's so big. I can park in bus parking.
Yeah.
And a dad got kicked out of the game, which we all kind of respect each other for doing, you know, because we all get a little hot. Yeah, I think every dad's been there. First thing I said was, go sit in the van. I got a great shot of the field. It's right there because his car was parked in the back row, you know. I'm like, go, and it's freezing ass cold. I'm like, go sit in the van and watch the game from there. And I said, by the way, Joe, I support everything you do all the time. Yeah. You know, but that brings a quality of life because it brings more people. You know, my home, that does bring happiness. Yeah. You know, I remember when I first was making that decision to purchase that house, which was a very expensive house at the time. And people were like, they had an interesting opinion on it. And I remember being like, you're not seeing it. If I have a bigger home that's built for entertaining, I can have more people more love in my life. I can have more love. I can show, like, I can't tell you how I grew up this way. I'm getting on a tangent now. Now I'm passionate. I grew up this way. My mom's friends were all much wealthier than her. She was an escrow officer doing land deals with the biggest land guys in town. So you can just imagine she's on an escrow officer salary surrounded by multi-millionaires. Mm-hmm. These multi-millionaires took a liking to my mom. And because they took a liking to my mom, they took a liking to her kids. And because dad wasn't there, they were good alpha men. And good alpha men will always be there for another child. Yep. Always. Yep. It's in our DNA. Yep. And so these men would be so generous with their things with my mom. And so I grew up getting to enjoy all of these really special experiences that my mom maybe didn't own, but was gifted. And so I find fulfillment in doing the same with my vacation homes, with my side-by-sides, with my scooters, with my golf cart, with my home. All that shit is fucking useless without people. Yeah. It's all boring as fuck without people. Yeah. But it allows people to have these incredible experiences that their children can grow up and go, I grew up in Brian Head in Josh's cabin.
Bro, that same experience changed my life. I had a friend who his dad was...
Sorry for the tangent.
No, no, dude.
But that's what that's about. It's not about any other bullshit. And that is the extension of my personal brand that I'm trying to educate people on, is that making money isn't about spoiling yourself. That's the least of it. These are $40 shoes. These are like $28 pants. This is an Amazon sweater. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing about it is about spoiling me. It's about providing experiences for other people. That's where the fulfillment comes from.
First thing I want to say is when I was growing up, had a similar experience. My dad was just an addict and just wasn't very successful in life. We'll just leave it at that. And so as I was around more successful men, which were my friends' dads, right? All this stuff, they liked it. But it didn't mean shit to them. Meaning, like, if we wanted to go on a drive in the car, yeah, dude, yeah, come on, jump in, right? But then there's the same side where I have uncles or, you know, friends' dads that they didn't have a lot. They'd be like, hey, don't touch that. That's a very expensive thing. And like, if you wreck that, be like, what? And so I took that from the more successful guys. They're like, it's just something.
Yep.
You know? And it wasn't that they didn't care or that they were, you know, assholes and like, oh, I could just go buy another one. No. That wasn't it. It was just the fact that they were like, it's just something. You know, shit's going to happen. Things are going to happen. Treat it with respect. You don't get this just by being average, right? So you need to work hard to get this. But when you do, like, share it.
Yep.
And if something happens, okay.
They understand that they have it to create the experience.
Yeah.
If it sits in the corner and doesn't get touched, what's the point of having it?
I've never talked to anybody about this right here since I've been little, bro. Like, that changed my life.
That was a beautiful perspective
in the direction I was
that
going,
you just
bro.
created.
Changed my life. So I'm glad to hear you break it down like that. And it kind of transcends into, so when you found out that your wife had cancer, and here you have all of this stuff, which obviously you just broke down what that means and what the intention of all that stuff is, right? The shift in your did it when that happened, did it shift your mindset in your business to where, like, maybe I need to start setting up my business and my brand to run itself rather than you having to be so 100% hands-on? Because, like, if you get removed, what happens?
I hate to say that because I don't like to make anybody feel like they don't contribute to making this thing run. But I also am pretty conscious and understanding that if I was removed, it probably wouldn't run.
Yeah.
So I say it exactly how I just said it on purpose, is I need everybody around me to make this run.
100%.
But if I am removed from the equation, it may not run.
I want to add to really quick. It's the energy, bro. The energy that you bring in, like, everybody, that's the love and the energy, like, that would be removed, unfortunately, which
Right.
ultimately might remove a lot of the reasons or the whys of why the people are here. They love being here. They love doing what they're doing for you guys, for this.
It's an energy I bring that people match.
Right. Right.
That's all it is. And whether that energy is, this is how we're going to fucking crush the day, and then they match it.
Yeah.
So yeah, you do remove that, then it's like somebody else would have to step in with that fuck you energy, and to ensure that everybody matches it, because energy attracts energy. You know, like I was saying, and so yeah, that's the component that I bring to the table is energy.
So
and we'll figure it out.
So what's next, dude? Like, where are you taking this business? Where are you taking this brand? I told you the other day, you stopped me before on my way out. And I look at you, I don't know, you know, I'm just getting to know you, bro. And, like, we've gravitated towards one another. And I don't know a whole lot about what you do. Like, well, I know what you do for business, but I don't know, like, the ins and outs, right? But I just see, like, this bigger picture. And it's not to, like, downsize or discredit what you already have. I just look at you as Grant Cardone would be like an example of a person, like, on that. I just see you, like, up here, and you're already up here. I just see you, like, up there. I don't know why I started to text you. Like, I don't know why I felt the need that I needed to actually tell you that. I don't know.
I'm flattered and grateful that that's your perception of me. I think, you know, I think so this kind of goes back to my point about being conscious of hearing and listening to other people. Is there may be a faster way to get to California, but until I get to California, I don't even want to think about, like, Kansas City.
Yeah.
And then I would say I need to get to Kansas City, and then before I get to Kansas City, I wouldn't even think about New York. You know, and that's kind of this. I really am genuinely flattered that you believe that I have the capabilities and emotional intelligence and the strength and the will and the commitment and the consistency and all the things that it would take to be a Grant Cardone. But for me, if I get off the track that I'm on before accomplishing the goals that I want to accomplish, then I'm operating from fear. I can own that. Then I'm afraid that I could derail the whole thing. So when I tell you my goal is to get to 100 rentals with an equal amount of net cash flow per month, my intention with that is so that I could go and take bigger risks after that, because I've built such a safety net that, you know, if I live lavishly off of 50 grand a month and I save 50 grand a month, that means that I have $600,000 I can go and invest a year anywhere I want with any level of risk. And so, yeah, it is tempting to, pursue other avenues that may lube the wheels up on my trolley, that may put a turbo booster on it, that may push me further up the mountain. But I just have too much riding on me amongst the people that work with me, and then obviously my family, for me to do anything until I get to California, which is my $100,000 a month. And then when I get there, then I can see that, and there may even be a time where I think this is what's going to happen in my life. I'm going to eventually get to the $100,000. I will get there 100%. I'm either going to die or I'm going to get there. So I'm going to get there. And I'm hoping that I get there within the next 2 or 3 years. And when I get there, I could see myself saying, I'm going to take 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years in the slow lane, not off, in the slow lane, and then turn it back on when the kids are 18, 19, 20, and 21. Because if you think about it, when my youngest is 4, in 14 years, so I'm 39, 49, I'm only 55. Yeah. Dude, I've sat down in this room. We could pull a 55-year-old in here right now, Sean. We wouldn't even know how old he is. Yeah. And he'd be every bit as sharp as you and I, and just as in tune, and get back in the game when I don't have kids. And like I said, slow lane, maybe second or third gear, something like that. But just not in fucking, 6th gear with the gas down to the floor the rest of this ride. Just because you start really thinking about, like, I only got 40 years left of good health. And I always say, if I can have sex, if I can make love to my wife, that to me is health. You know what I'm saying? The day that you can't do that is really kind of like, is he healthy? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
That takes some energy to pull that off. That takes some certain things to make, to work to pull that off. So to me, that's my definition of health. So if I can make love to my wife until I'm 80, then that's health. Because do I live to 96? There's a good chance for that. But does that mean I'm healthy? Does that mean that am I living, or am I just alive?
Right.
And so you make an argument. I only got 40 years left. I got enough money to make it through the next 10 or 15 living really big. Do I want, and then once my kids are out, I don't fucking need anything.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm an expert at taking care of this.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm still learning how to take care of my wife and my kids. Yeah. But this fucking thing, dude, I can figure out how to eat, how to sleep, how to drink, how to go to the bathroom until I'm done.
Yeah.
So when they're out on their own and they're self-sufficient, independent human beings, I don't need all this stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's
no, it does. It does. I mean,
I don't know where my journey's at, but I don't know if I'm going to go that strong because I need to first maintain my foundation. Mm-hmm. I've watched people try to turn the accelerators on, the turbo boosters on, and I have not seen it serve anybody yet.
So that brings up another question then. So in that process, as you're focused on that, and new things keep coming your way, new ideas, we've touched on this as well. How many of those do you grab, and how many of them are you like, this is really great, but no?
So I've recently learned that with this Galindo Media brand. It was a lesson that I watched how I responded. I watched how it unfolded from a third person view and said, why did that work? And then I analyzed it. And I encapsulated it, and I stuck it in my brain, and I said, that's a lesson that will serve me the rest of my life. So I'll go through that, because you asked when and how do I take advantage of opportunities or ideas that keep coming into my life. What I learned from that one, because before I was pushing them away, I was just going, I need to stay focused. I need to stay focused. I need to stay focused. And what it was is the right person with the right mindset came into my life and said, which was Luis, said, this is my idea. And I think this is a message for everybody out there that's like, how do I pursue a business or something? And people think it's like, hey, hi, I want to work for you.
Yeah.
Here's my
resume.
Well, fuck, man. Now you just create a job for me. I got to go figure out where to place you. There was none of that. Luis goes, I have an idea. Here's my contribution to the idea. I'll run it. I want to partner up with you and go. And I was like, wow. I swear to you, Sean, that was the first time anybody's ever come to me with so much value that you couldn't say no. Yeah. It was like, he's in financially. He's committed. He proved himself. And then it was a yes. And so I take that little micro experience, and that is the only way I will expand on anything Galindo moving forward, is if somebody comes to me and says, I just want to piggyback off the brand. I want to piggyback off of your insight here and there when it makes sense. And I want to build something beautiful. I would go, you have to be the right guy, because I don't have any more bandwidth.
Yeah.
That's my problem, is I can't expand because I don't have any more bandwidth. I can't go start new businesses and be the driver of them.
I like hearing you say that, man. It's you're not admitting defeat. That's not it at all. But there are a lot of guys in every single space that will just yep. And they don't do any service to anybody. In fact, they let so many people down. And I don't think they genuinely really care about the fact that they have people counting on them when they start to take all these things in, because they just really kind of want the image part of it.
Sure.
You know, you have to be able to say no. And it's not, like I said, it's not admitting defeat. It's just admitting like, hey, no, I can't genuinely take this on knowing that like I could serve you.
That's what it comes
and make
down
your
to.
Life better and consistent. I wouldn't be able to do that.
I would destroy my brand in a heartbeat if I took on too much and said that I was. But it starts with care. I do care. Exactly what you just said. I do care about how the service that I ultimately provide people in exchange for money. And if I can't provide that, then I just have to say no. That's why it comes down to having to find the right person to make it happen. It's not me.
So before this venture, like, it's been really hard for me to listen to podcasts, honestly. Like, people talk so much, dude. You know, like I got invited to this event today, and at first I was going to go. It's an all-day event. It's high net worth people raising, you know. So I started thinking about it last night, and I was telling my wife, I'm like, I'm done listening to people, hearing so many perspectives of how everyone's an expert on everything. I'm like, I am the fucking expert, dude. Like I'm now in my time where this is my fucking time. I don't need to hear any more about how anybody else is doing anything else. I just can't. I'm like on information over. Does that make sense? Like I'm just like, it's just too fucking much right now for me. You know?
I'll relate with you. I don't follow. If I do follow, I have them muted. I don't follow any of my competitors.
Yeah.
I don't I don't take advice from really anybody. People will often ask like, what's the best 5 books you've read? You know, I'm like, I don't fucking read books. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm not against books. I love books. I'm reading a book now for my kids, but it's called Emotional Intelligence. That's quite interesting. Yeah, I just think it's too much. It's too hard to, because you only need one path. It's almost like someone saying, okay, you going to California? Yeah, I'm going to California. You can take 50 ways.
Totally.
And let me start with number 1. And then you're like numbed out by the time they get to number 5. You're like, dude, I just need one way to get there.
Dude.
And then double down on that one way.
100%. At this point, like I've already consumed so much information. You know, I've already listened. And as now I'm traveling down the one path that I know that I'm going, like you just said, like I'm going to grab onto what I know is on that path, you know,
Sure.
But like everything else, it's just too much,
Yeah.
dude, you know? So so this event today, the first half of it is like AI and how that's going to change the fucking universe. Right. Okay, fine. I mean, that should be interesting, you know? And then the second part is podcast professionals and listening to their podcasts, and I'm like, I don't want to do that, because then it's just going to make me question everything that I'm doing.
There you go. You're right.
So I'm like, I just scratched the whole thing altogether, and I don't know if I'm really want to talk to a whole bunch of people today.
Dude, that's exactly one of the reasons why is it makes me question me. When I start watching others and paying too much attention to others, I question my own success, and at any moment that you question your own success or your own way of obtaining success, anytime there's just the word question in what you're doing, it kind of debilitates me. So that's why I'm like, I don't want to hear anybody's shit. I don't want to hear about Florida. I don't want to fucking hear about Texas. I don't want to hear about fucking Arizona. I don't want to hear about how different parts of the town have different types of, I'm like, I just stay in my space so that when I go to make a decision, I'm not like overly influenced by all this other information overload. I'm like in my own space, based on my own experience, based on my own track record, and then I make a decision.
You're hitting the nail on the head, dude. Like to hear you say that is really refreshing, bro, because that's exactly the way that I feel. Like there are sometimes even some text messages and stuff that people will send me. I don't even read the full thing, dude, because I don't want to start questioning myself.
Yeah.
I'm confident in the answers and the decisions that I make, and sometimes some of the decisions that we have to make have to be quick.
Sure.
So any of that fucks me up.
Yeah.
And I'm just over it.
Yeah.
Everything's worked out okay to this
That's
point.
right. You're,
You know what I
you're
mean?
fucking
Like,
healthy and
I'm
happy
good.
and doing all right.
Dude.
Yeah.
So like I'm
Stick with
good,
it.
man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that.
Love it. So if in closure, if there was like just a young dude, like not a young version of you,
Okay.
right? A young person, let's take us back to like maybe like 22, 23, really trying to find their vision. Everybody in their circles, W2, nothing against it, but they work 9 to 5, so they're used to structure and predictability. And you have this young kid wanting to break out and create a brand for himself, and everybody's telling him, "No, you can't do that. That's crazy as fuck. You can't do that." What would you tell this kid, man? What bit of advice would you give to this person to maybe spark them in going in that direction, saying, yes, you can?
As time heals is what I would tell that kid. If there was a young 22-year-old kid wanting to break out of his pack of friends that are used to operating from predictability, which often comes with a 9 to 5 or W2 income, and he wanted to go and create a separate space for himself, an entrepreneurial spirit, and he didn't know what to do, I would tell him that time heals everything. So when he goes and tries to do something new or different, all of his friends will go, "What are you doing? That's weird. That's different." My dad taught me, I heard this one time, if you do that, this could, all that's noise. And then people are easily susceptible to that. And what's really taking place there that I often like to communicate is that people operate in comfort zones at all times. So the second that all of a sudden little Jimmy in the circle of 5 at 22 does something different, he freaks out the other 4 because it is creating unpredictability for their comfort zones. So how do they get themselves back to a comfortable space? They discourage and persuade little Jimmy to go back to how little Jimmy was so that they can go, I'm comfortable again. Do you see how important that is to understand? Because everybody wants to go and try to do change, and then everybody around them gets spooked and discourages it. The only way to break through that is with time. If you are consistent long enough, all of a sudden, all of your sphere of influence becomes comfortable with the new you and embraces it. Oh, that's just Josh. He just wears fucking GGs everywhere. Dude, the first time I got a fucking text that I wish I could find, screenshot, and frame. This guy wrote me and goes, "Who's the group?" in Galindo group, because it was just Crystal and I. And then, I've had a lot of haters along the journey. But with consistency and time, people have just accepted me for who I am and what I'm trying to accomplish. And now think, if I reverted back to, Crystal and I at Galindo Group Real Estate and a Tahoe and an Audi A7, I'd freak the whole world out. Right? Because I changed.
Yeah.
And it's funny, it doesn't matter which direction you're going.
Right.
They just want consistency. And so you have to be able to endure the negativity,
Huge.
the discouragement, the persuasion to ensure that person gets back to their comfort zone. You have to be able to endure all of that pain. And boy, is it fucking pain. And that's why they say the journey to success is a lonely road. It is. But when you finally make it to success, there's a lot of motherfuckers waiting for you going, "Come on in, dude."
Yeah.
But the second that you're sitting on that road and you're looking ahead and nobody's there, you're looking behind you, nobody's there, you look to your right and left and nobody's there, it's natural human instinct to want to turn around and go back. And that's what haters are doing, is they're trying to get you to come back. But if you stay consistent enough and keep producing and staying true to what you're trying to accomplish, all of a sudden the world embraces you. It's fucking weird. But that's 100% human nature and what happens. So I would tell that kid, whatever you're going to do, whether it's create a personal brand, whether it's create the best shoe cleaning company, never, ever give up and just keep going. And all of a sudden, your friends will be your fans. All of a sudden, your haters will be your fans. All of a sudden, the people that were trying to discourage you or persuade you to do different will be supportive. And don't be bitter. Don't be mad. You know how many times, like when I was coming up in success, I remember the people that were finally starting to give it to me. My initial response was, fuck you.
Yeah.
You weren't there for me when I wasn't successful.
Yep.
But that's not healthy.
No.
That's not healthy. That's stupid. It's a waste of energy and a waste of negative energy coming out of this perfect body.
Yeah.
You know? So now, thank you for supporting me. Why even rub it in? Why even go there? Hey, thanks for the support. Yeah. I appreciate it. So to me, if you're not on my team, that's fine. One day you'll be on my team. And when you are, I'll still accept you.
Yeah.
Because I've been the hurt person hurting people. And now I have a very clear understanding of what that looks like. And I don't want to operate in that space ever again.
Yeah.
Ever again. I learned so many valuable lessons. Breaking up with my brother-in-law, Casey Ryan, in my flipping business was the biggest life lesson I'd ever had. And I'm so fucking grateful for it. It's so funny. And we laugh about it today, you know.
I appreciate you, man. I'm so thankful that you and I have crossed paths. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on here. And I would say for anybody at any age, whether you're 22 or 82, go follow this guy. Follow his journey. Just follow his message. It's very positive. It's very enlightening. The endure, that word, man, when you said endure, like, just really resonated, man. So is there anything else you want to say before we cut out?
I'm so thankful to be here. I'm glad to have a human being that I can connect with on a very deep level that's rare and tough, and it's fulfilling for my soul. And I'll leave this feeling filled up, and I'm grateful. And I wish you all the best, Sean. I know you're starting your journey out, so good luck. Subscribe, comment, like on all of Sean's stuff, and listen to the journey. You won't end any podcast stupider. You'll always end it smarter or the same, but you won't be dumber finishing it.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Likewise.
That wraps up another empowering episode of Loudr with Sean P. I want to express my gratitude for joining the conversation. Remember, your voice matters, and together we're creating a symphony of impactful stories. If you enjoyed today's episode, I want to hear from you. Please subscribe, share, leave a review, and let's continue making some noise. Until next time, stay empowered and stay loud.